From homeless to millionaire, a black woman's journey as a maid, babysitter, and poor woman. Emily's hands trembled as rain slammed against the towering windows of the Thompson mansion. Outside, the storm roared like a beast unleashed, lightning tearing through the black sky, thunder pounding like a drum in her chest. The wind howled, rattling the ornate doors, trapping her and Mark Thompson inside this strange, glittering prison. She stood there in the vast, cold hallway, far from the cramped apartment she once called home. Not so long ago, the only roof over her head was the cracked ceiling of a run-down shelter. Now the polished marble beneath her feet felt like a lie, too smooth, too cold, too unreal. She wiped her clammy palms on her worn jeans and swallowed the lump rising in her throat. This mansion might be beautiful, but it wasn't hers. Not really. Emily's mind raced back to Sophie, her little sister, warm and asleep somewhere, in a place safer because of her sacrifices. Mark's daughter. She hadn't seen the pale girl since they'd all been trapped by the storm. Emily found her shivering in a corner, clutching a battered doll, eyes wide with silent fear. The loneliness in that small frame cracked Emily open. She forced a smile, soft but steady. "It's okay, Lily. I'm here." There was no warmth in this house, except in the fragile glimmers from Lily's grateful clutch. Emily knelt beside her, whispering stories of brighter days, of hope, tucked in the storm's eye. For a moment, the mansion lost its cold edges, replaced by a fragile bubble of care and quiet courage. Behind them, Mark watched, his usual stern mask faltering. The weight of his past regrets flashed in his weary eyes. Threats from Sarah, his sharp-tongued ex-wife, lingered in every shadow, poisoning the air. But in Emily, he saw something unexpected, a strength he hadn't dared to hope for. Not just a nanny. Perhaps something more. Their gazes met briefly, a crack in the distance between their worlds. Emily felt it too, the pull, the fragile spark amid the tempest. But just as they began to lean into whispered confessions, a cold reminder of danger knocked at the door like a warning. Sarah's unpredictable rage was never far, a dark cloud that threatened everything they tried to build. Mark's voice broke the silence, impulsive and heavy with something raw. "Emily, will you marry me?" The words hung in the crashing silence, reckless but real. Could love born from chaos carve out a place for Emily and Sophie here? Or would that answer open the door to deeper storms? Her heart pounded wild, breath short, chest tight. The world outside screamed, but inside, time stopped at the edge of a choice. Then came the knock, sharp, sudden, impossible to ignore. Who was on the other side? "Hey!" Before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, hit that powerful like button. It really helps with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Mark's words hung thick in the air, a reckless pulse among the tension. Emily's heart raced. She wanted to respond, to say yes, to let the warmth of something new wash over her. But the knock echoed again, louder, more demanding. "Who is it?" Mark called, his voice a mix of authority and fear. Silence. And just as it deepened, the door burst open, a gust of wind slicing through the hall. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway, water streaming like a dark veil from the storm outside. It was Sarah, her eyes fierce, her presence commanding. "Where is he?" she shouted, her voice slicing through the quiet tension, sending shivers down Emily's spine. Lily whimpered, clinging to Emily's side. Mark stepped forward, fists clenched. "What are you doing here, Sarah? This isn't your home anymore." "Oh, but it is, Mark. It is," she snapped back, eyes blazing. "And I know what you're up to. You think you can hide her and your little secrets behind those golden doors?" Emily's pulse quickened. Secrets? What secrets? She exchanged a glance with Mark. Was there something more between them than just the storm brewing outside? Before Mark could respond, Sarah stepped inside, fury crackling in the air. "Do you think I don't know? I saw you two, standing too close, laughing. I know about the money. You and that pretty little maid." "Stop it!" Mark's voice thundered, echoing in the high ceilings. "You don't get to twist everything, Sarah." But Sarah pressed on, relentless. "Oh, but I do. You're not thinking straight. You can't trust her. This woman, she's not who you think. She's—" Suddenly, Emily felt her world tilt. What was Sarah about to say? Every muscle in her body tensed. A lump formed in her throat. "She's my sister." The words fell heavy, smothering the room. Emily's breath caught. She staggered back, shock gripping her chest. Lily gasped, clutching her doll tighter. Mark went pale, confusion breaking across his face. No, that's not possible," he stammered, glancing between Sarah and Emily, searching for logic in chaos. "But it is," Sarah said, a twisted smirk curling her lips. "She's been living a lie. Dropped out of the picture when I needed her most. Left me to pick up the mess." Emily's heart raced, each beat louder than the last. She shook her head, trying to process. She had no idea. She'd never mentioned her family, her past. It had been a choice, a survival tactic. The truth threatened to drag her back down, into old pains she fought so hard to escape. "Is it true?" Mark's voice was soft now, probing, both curious and scared. Emily opened her mouth, but nothing came out. "It can't be," she finally whispered, but her voice trembled with doubt. "Look at her," Sarah spat, her eyes gleaming. "She didn't have the guts to stand by me. Now she wants to play house with you." Mark seemed torn, his gaze flickering dangerously between the two women. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within, a clash of revelations, a shattering of trust. Lily's frightened whimper broke the tense silence. "Emily, you're my friend, right?" Emily knelt beside the little girl, her heart shattering like glass. "Always, Lily, always." But the storm raged both outside the mansion and within the walls of their lives. The past loomed, threatening to pull Emily back into a darkness she'd fought so hard to escape. "Mark," she finally whispered, her voice small, "what do we do now?" As the rain lashed against the windows, the real question hung in the air. Who could she trust? Who was really on her side? The answer felt so far away, lost in the chaos of that stormy night. Emily's heart raced as she stared at Mark, his face a mixture of shock and confusion. She felt the world closing in, the air thick with tension. "What do we do now?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The wind outside screamed like a wounded animal, echoing the turmoil inside her. Mark's brow furrowed, but before he could respond, Sarah stepped forward, her voice like ice. "You still don't understand, do you? It's not just me. You're playing a dangerous game." "What do you mean?" Mark shot back, eyes narrowing. Beneath the chaos, a cold dread settled in Emily's stomach. Emily's not just a maid, Sarah sneered, her eyes gleaming with something dangerously close to triumph. She left a life behind, a life you have no clue about. Emily felt a chill creep up her spine. What was Sarah getting at? There was something more, and it twisted inside her, coiling like a serpent. "What are you saying?" Mark demanded, stepping closer to Emily, his protective instincts kicking in. "I'm saying she's not who you think she is. She's been hiding from you." Emily's pulse quickened. "Hiding? What are you talking about?" The lump in her throat grew heavier. But just then, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The storm outside bellowed, almost as if the house itself was alive with tension. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the direction of the kitchen. The sound sliced through their conversation, freezing them all in place. "What was that?" Lily whimpered, eyes wide. Mark glanced toward the darkness. "Stay here." He turned quickly, his fists clenched, and dashed towards the kitchen, his footsteps urgent against the polished marble. Emily instinctively took a step forward, torn between fear and the need to know. "Wait, Mark!" she cried, but he was already gone, swallowed by the shadows. And then Sarah turned back to Emily, an unsettling smile creeping across her lips. "You thought you could just erase your past? That no one would find out?" "Enough, Sarah." But Sarah's laughter echoed empty and hollow. "You don't know the half of it. Your past isn't just gone. It's here, waiting for you." Emily felt her breath quicken, her chest tightening uncomfortably. What did Sarah mean? What was lurking just out of sight? Suddenly, Mark's voice ripped through the air. "Get away from her, Sarah." He reappeared, a glint of something dangerous in his eyes. But then behind him, something moved, something dark and shadowy. Emily's heart sank. A figure stepped into the faint light, drenched from the rain, but unmistakably familiar. A man, tall and forbidding, stepped into view, face shadowed but unmistakable. "Hello, Emily." Her heart crashed against her ribs. It was Jerry, the man she had thought was long gone, the brother she had left behind, the ghost of her past. How did you find me?" He stepped closer, and with every movement, the walls of the mansion seemed to close in tighter. "I've always known where you were, sis. You can't run from blood." Mark's jaw tightened, confusion flaring in his eyes. What is happening? Emily's world spun around her. Secrets, lies, and betrayal coiled around her like a cage. Not just one sister lost, but an entire life she thought she had escaped. "Jerry, she stammered, fear pooling in her stomach. "Shut up, Emily. This isn't over," he roared, anger lacing his words. "What do you want?" She gasped, struggling to breathe. He stepped closer, and as he did, the air grew heavier with tension, thick with memories of loss and pain. "It's time for you to come home. You owe me." Mark moved instinctively in front of her, muscles taut and ready. "You'll not touch her!" But Jerry's gaze flickered over to Mark, a self-satisfied smile creeping up his face. "And what if I do?" Emily's chest tightened even more, the storm raging outside, rippling through her mind. She stood at the edge of a precipice, the weight of her past crashing down around her. As the winds howled and the rain lashed at the windows, she felt a darkness creeping back into her life, threatening to consume everything she had fought for. Would she have to face everything she had left behind? And what did Jerry really want? The storm continued, but now Emily was in a whirlwind of her own, a storm she couldn't escape. The night was far from over. Emily's heart thundered in her chest as she faced Jerry, the shadows of the room closing in like vice grips around her. Memories rushed back, nights filled with shame, choices made in desperation. Mark stood protectively before her, fists clenched, ready to defend his fragile world. "Leave her alone," Mark's voice rang out. But Jelly didn't move. He simply smiled, a predator sizing up his next meal. "Not until I get what I came for," he said, stepping closer, the air thickening with danger. His eyes glazed with a madness that sent waves of fear crashing down Emily's spine. "Mark," she whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know what he wants." But before she could finish, the ground shook beneath them, a rumble that vibrated through the marble floors. They all stumbled, and then, out of nowhere, the very front doors of the mansion blew open. Wind ho! "Shut the door!" Emily shouted, panic rising like bile in her throat. But Mark was frozen, eyes locked on Jerry. "Don't you want to know the truth?" Jerry called out over the storm, his voice dripping with malice. "The truth about why I'm really here?" Then, without warning, the lights flickered violently and plunged them into darkness. For a split second, there was only the sound of the storm and their labored breaths. Emily's heart raced, and she strained her eyes to see. Just as she felt the icy dread pinch at her fingers, the lights surged back, revealing not just Jerry, but an entire group of strangers behind him. "What the?" Mark's startled voice trailed off, confusion spreading across his face as he took in the sight. They were all shrouded in darkness, dressed sharply like shadows, ready to pounce. "Your past won't stay buried, Emily," Jerry spat, gesturing towards the newcomers. "Meet my associates." The strangers laughed, their voices a sinister chorus that echoed through the grand ballroom. Fear gripped Emily's throat tighter with every sinister chuckle. "Associates?" Mark echoed, his brows knitting together in disbelief. "What have you gotten yourself into, Emily?" "Enough!" Jerry shouted, and the amusement in the room drained. "We know your little secrets. You think you can create a new life? You think you can escape?" Just then, one of the strangers, a woman with fierce eyes, stepped forward. "She can't escape the truth, Mark. We've been watching her. The money, the rise. It's all a part of the plan." Emily's fingers trembled. What plan? But the woman did not answer. Instead, she reached into her coat, pulling out a small envelope. It fluttered in the whirlwind of chaos, drawing everyone's focus. "You want to know what the price is for escaping? Here it is. We have proof, evidence that could shatter everything you've built." As she tossed the envelope into the air, it glided towards Emily, landing softly at her feet, an accusation draped in paper. Electricity crackled in the air, as if the very fabric of their reality hung in the balance, teasing at the edges of dark secrets. "Open it," Jerry urged, a sneer on his face. "See what happens when you try to run." Emily swallowed hard, her pulse pounding in her ears. She bent down to pick up the envelope, fingers trembling as she stared at it. What could it contain? Every moment of her life could tip on its edge. "Emily, don't!" Mark's voice was urgent, filled with a desperate warning, but it was too late. Curiosity pulled her. She ripped it open. The contents spilled out. A series of photographs, each one illustrating a crime she had kept hidden. Her heart sank as she recognized places, faces, memories that she had thought buried forever. A whirlwind of past mistakes dragged her down. An overwhelming fear washed over her, threatening to expose everything she designed to flee from. "No!" Her voice broke, tears blurring her vision. Mark stepped closer, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding, dread weaving through his features. "Emily, what is this?" She looked up, breathless. But as air escaped her lungs, she knew. The truth would change everything. Relationships could crack apart. Trust could shatter. Outside, the storm raged on. But now, uncertainty brewed in their hearts. Who can you trust? The question hung heavy in the air, a haunting promise that echoed over the raging tumult. Emily's hands shook as she faced the storm, with a past rising to meet her once more. How would she fight it? What more had Jerry unleashed? As the house trembled around them, the answer felt just beyond reach, foreboding and dark. Emily's hands trembled as she clutched the envelope. The photographs spilled out, each one a dagger embedding itself deeper into her heart. She had built a new life from scraps, but every image threatened to pull her back into the depths. Mark's gaze searched hers, confusion mingling with horror. "Emily, what is this?" His voice cracked, panic bubbling beneath the surface. I can explain," she stammered, words tangling in her throat. But even as she spoke, doubt ripped through her. How could she explain what she fought so hard to bury? Suddenly, the wind howled again, a dark note in the symphony of chaos surrounding them. The atmosphere shifted. The strangers shifted, their silhouettes framed by the dim light, shadows that seemed to cackle with wicked intent. "Open the envelope, sis," Jerry taunted, his voice smooth and chilling. "Let him see what a little liar you've been." Each word pricked like thorns. Emily's heart raced as she replayed countless nights trying to erase the past. Mark's protective stance faltered for a fleeting second, fear dancing in his eyes. And just like that, the scene erupted. "Enough!" A new voice boomed from the shadows, shockwaves rippling through the room. A figure broke through the throng of strangers, heavy footsteps echoing against the marble. Emily's breath hitched. It was her mother, Senna, the woman she thought was lost forever. "Mom?" The word escaped Emily's lips, disbelief coloring her tone. Senna's face was lined with years of hardship, but her eyes blazed with a fire that melted the cold air around them. "Emily!" Senna rushed forward, arms stretching wide. "You don't understand. They're here for you, but they want to take you away again." "Take me away?" Emily could barely whisper, her chest constricting. She thought she had escaped, that her mother had let her down. Now she was back, like a ghost, too familiar to forget. "Mark, she's not who you think," Senna shouted, desperation in her voice. "She didn't abandon us willingly. She was taken. They found her." The revelation hung heavy in the air. Mark's brow furrowed deeper, fragments of clarity replacing confusion. The storm continued to rage outside, the wind howling like a desperate animal. "What do you mean?" Mark asked, stepping towards Senna, the protective instinct for Emily igniting again. "What did they do to her?" "They tried to collect on debts, Mark. They threatened us." Senna's voice cracked, raw pain spilling forth. "But Emily was strong. She ran. I never thought she'd be caught in this tangled web of lies." Jerry laughed, the sound unnerving. "So touching, isn't it? The reunion. But remember, you can't escape blood. She left us behind, thought she could break free." "Shut up!" Emily shouted, fury bubbling to the surface. "You don't know what you're talking about." But she was shaking, memories flooding her with an icy grip. She had fought to survive, had clawed her way out of darkness, and now it felt like it was swallowing her whole. "Mom, what are you doing here?" she asked, urgency flooding her voice. "Did you bring them here?" "I'm here to save you." Senna reached for Emily, her hands trembling with fear and hope. Before Emily could respond, the new faces shifted, their demeanor suddenly aggressive. "You think she'll protect you?" one sneered. eyes glinting with malice. "We know everything, Emily. You can't hide." Shock paralyzed her. 1,000 questions raced through her mind. What were they after? "Get away from me!" Emily screamed, stepping back, heart racing like a wild animal. But Mark didn't move. He stood resolute, prepared to shield her from the storm of her past. Then, just as the tension reached a breaking point, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness once more. In that brief, terrifying void, screams echoed, and then the power surged back, bright and jarring, illuminating a figure standing at the entrance, a woman clad in black, with dark glasses masking her eyes. "Stop this now," she commanded, a powerful presence that surged through the chaos. "Emily, the truth is not what you think. You are not just anyone." The ground beneath them trembled, the storm outside screaming against the windows. Time seemed to stretch, each heartbeat puncturing the thick air, leaving everyone uncertain. "What do you mean?" Emily breathed, fear spiking with each word. The woman slowly removed her glasses, revealing sharp features and eyes filled with fire. "You are part of something greater. Your past, it shapes the future." Emily's head spun. What was happening? Who was she? And just like that, the ground shifted beneath her feet. Relationships unraveled, trust shattered. The storm outside mirrored the upheaval within Emily's world. "Stay close, Emily," Mark shouted, but she felt herself slipping. The daunting weight of everything she had tried to escape was coming back, and this time it had teeth. As the wind howled louder, questions swirled like leaves caught in a tempest. Could she really trust anyone? Would she have to embrace a destiny she never wanted? And what lay ahead in this storm of secrets? Emily stood frozen, the weight of the envelope heavy in her hands. The photographs glared back at her, her past laid bare, pieces of her life she had fought to forget clawing to the surface. She could feel the air thick with tension, every breath coming in short gasps as memories swirled like a storm. "Emily, look at me," Mark urged, his voice cutting through the daze. Fear and confusion danced in his eyes, creating a storm of their own. He stepped closer, every muscle tense, ready to defend her, but the shadows loomed larger. "Please, let me explain." Emily tried, but each word felt like a fragile thread about to snap. The storm outside raged, wind howling through the mansion, howling through her soul. Senna's eyes were locked onto Jerry, a silent battle raging between them. "You have to believe me, Emily. They want to tear us apart." "Why now, Mom?" Emily's voice cracked, bewilderment flooding her thoughts. "Why after all these years?" Jerry sneered, taking a step forward, his presence ominous. "They're only here because of you." "Sis, you've been chosen." "Chosen?" Mark echoed, his voice laced with disbelief. "What does that even mean?" But before anyone could speak, the air shifted, carrying an electric hum that rippled through the room. The lights flickered again, casting eerie shadows over their faces. Emily felt the ground beneath her tremble slightly. Just a tremor, but enough to stir her instincts. Then, everything changed in an instant. A loud crash came from the foyer, drowning out the thunder outside. The door splintered off its hinges as a figure stormed through. Shrouded in darkness and soaked from the rain, Emily's heart raced. This was no ordinary stranger. He moved with purpose, eyes shrouded in mystery, but alight with a fierce intensity. "Get back!" he shouted, his voice booming, almost primal. Everyone stepped back, eyes wide, confusion morphing into alarm. "Who the hell are you?" Jerry barked. But the figure paid no attention, eyes fixed on Emily. Emily. The voice was familiar, yet foreign, laced with urgency. You need to come with me now. What? Panic surged as her heart raced. Trust me, they're playing you. We don't have much time. Who are you? Mark yelled, stepping protectively in front of her. But before the figure could respond, a cacophony erupted outside. The sound of sirens pierced through the storm. Bright lights began to flash through the tall windows. You're in danger. Why should we trust you? Senna demanded, eyes narrowed. The charged air crackled with distrust. But before an answer could come, the new arrivals burst through the door. The police, drenched and determined. Everyone stay calm, one officer shouted, scanning the scene. We have reports of a disturbance. Step away from each other. Emily, the mysterious figure urged again, his voice steady through the rising chaos. Now. Suddenly, everything spiraled. Jerry lunged forward, fists raised. You're not taking her. But the police responded quickly, moving to restrain him. Emily felt a surge of adrenaline, the kind that flooded her veins during desperate times. Her breaths came in quick gasps, heart racing as the figure reached out a hand toward her. Come on, he urged again, a fire igniting in his eyes. We can escape this, you and I. But as she moved to take his hand, she felt a tug at her heartstrings. Mark's gaze stopped her. Emily, don't, he shouted, voice tinged with desperation. Don't trust him. In that moment, the world narrowed. The storm roared outside, and inside, a tempest raged across every person's face. Choose! The figure cried, urgency lacing his tone. Emily was torn. The room echoed with chaos. Both past and future collided in a dizzying dance. An overwhelming wave rushed over her. In that instant, she caught a glimpse of her own reflection in a nearby window. A woman caught between the life she had built and the life she had tried to escape. And then, just as she was about to choose, a blinding flash lit the room. Her heart stopped. Gunshots rang out, sharp and violent, slicing through the air like a blade. Time froze. The figure stumbled, pain etched across his face, confusion turning to fear. And then everything exploded into chaos. Emily! Mark yelled, rushing forward. But it was too late. Everything had changed. The storm outside howled louder, perhaps in mourning, or perhaps in anticipation of what was yet to come. In that moment, she realized trust was an illusion, and the ties of blood could strangle as much as they could bind. Yet, someone was lying on the ground, and it was time to find out who the true enemy was. Would she ever escape this cycle? Would she even survive the truth? The echo of gunfire sliced through the chaos, and time seemed to freeze, stretching thin like a frayed rope. Emily watched as the figure staggered, a look of shock painted across his face. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a trapped bird, desperate for freedom. Mark's voice rang out, filled with raw urgency. Emily, get back! But the world around her faded. All she could see was the figure crumbling to the ground, blood pooling on the polished marble floor. Despair ripped through her, sharp and agonizing. Stop! The police shouted again, moving to contain Jerry, pushing him back against the wall. A blur of uniforms surrounded the chaos, tension coiling as shouts echoed around them. Senna stepped closer to her daughter, eyes wide, but there was something else there, a flicker of fear mixed with something darker. Get everyone out! The commanding officer barked to his team. The winds howled outside, mirroring Emily's spiraling thoughts. The figure breathed heavily, clutching his side, blood seeping through his fingers, like dark ink spreading across a canvas. Why? Why did you have to come? He gasped, his voice barely a whisper, dragging Emily back to reality. Who are you? Mark demanded, eyes fierce, pleading for answers, as the shadows danced across the walls around them. Just then, the figure tilted his head slightly, pain etched into every crease of his features. You need to know, Emily. They're not who they say they are. In a breath, everything shifted. The room felt like a storm cloud charged with electricity. The police had Jerry backed into a corner, his face twisted in rage. You don't know a thing, he screamed. But all eyes were on the bloodied figure. Emily, listen to me. They know your secret, your past. What secret? Emily croaked, feeling the tears well in her eyes. A lump formed in her throat, a weight she couldn't shake. The figure winced, pressing against the ground, beads of sweat forming along his brow. The truth that's kept you trapped. Your family, it's not what you think. Mark frowned, stepping closer, fists balled. What are you talking about? Your mother. She's not your only connection to us. You've been living a lie. Family ties, choices made long ago. Shadows passed over the figure's face, revealing vulnerability beneath the pain. She wanted you safe. She was trying to protect you from me. Emily's chest felt tight, and every heartbeat throbbed in her ears. From you? What do you mean? And then, as if the universe took a breath, the figure's body went limp. Emily, don't trust anyone, he whispered, falling silent. No, Emily screamed, rushing forward, disbelief fueling her feet. She felt a crushing weight bearing down, panic swarming like hornets. The police shouted, pushing her aside, but she couldn't pull away. She knelt by him, the blood seeping into her fingers as the world around her shattered. Why did you come? She cried, the pain turning to rage. Why didn't you tell me? In an instant, a deafening thunder cracked outside, shaking the very foundation of what they knew. And then a loud crash erupted. Another figure burst into the room, a sinister silhouette emerging from the shadows. The soft flicker of the lights caught the gleam of a blade. Looks like the past is back to claim what's hers, the newcomer sneered, eyes glinting with malicious delight. Emily's breath caught, heart pounding in her chest. She felt herself spiraling, a deep shock settling in. Everything she thought she understood tilted precariously. Was her family truly different? Was she merely a pawn in a larger game she didn't even know existed? As the new figure stepped closer, unveiling an all-too-familiar face, Emily realized with horror. Her reality was unraveling before her eyes. All those bonds, the people she trusted, could be playing a deeper, darker game. Emily, there's so much more at stake than you know, the figure said, voice dripping with chilling familiarity. Her world spun, questions flooding her mind, leaving her teetering on the edge of understanding. Who truly held the power in this storm? And would she ever escape the ties that bound her to this twisted fate? Emily felt her breath hitch as the figure's face became clear. It was her brother, the one she had tried to forget, Jerry. Not the person who was supposed to protect her, but the embodiment of all her fears. Disbelief gripped her in waves, the blood pulsing in her ears, drowning out all sound. Jerry, she whispered, the truth crashing down around her like a tidal wave. Why? Why would you come here? He winced, shifting, blood trickling. I had no choice. They're coming, Emily. You have to understand. Outside, thunder rolled like a beast awakening, shaking the very foundations of her reality. The police struggled with Jerry, their shouts a frantic echo. Get down! Get down! Suddenly, everything erupted into chaos. The newcomer, the woman in black, stepped forward, her eyes shining with a knowing darkness. "You think you're safe? None of you are safe." And just as she spoke, the lights flickered violently, casting eerie shadows over the room as a loud crash rattled through the mansion. The door behind the newcomers burst open, and another figure stormed in, this time someone familiar, someone dangerous. "Step away from her," shouted another voice that struck Emily like a hammer. It was Mark's father, a man hidden in shadows until now. And there he stood, holding a gun. "Dad!" Mark shouted, eyes wide as disbelief morphed into pure shock. "What the hell are you doing here?" "Silence!" he roared, in authority laced with panic. "I won't let you ruin her, any of you." "Mark, no!" Emily fumbled through the haze of chaos, her voice barely above a whisper. She felt her heart drop as it hit her. Her life was not what it seemed. Mark blinked, horror mixing with confusion as he lowered his guard. The boundaries that defined their world cracked like ice, revealing darkness beneath. But before anyone could react, the woman in black smirked, stepping out from behind the shadows. "You don't get it. This has been a game long before you were born. Emily, you're not just a part of it. You're at its center." "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled, each word weighed down by dread. And in that instant, Jerry stiffened, his eyes narrowing. "No, not her. Don't say it." Panic surged through him. "Emily, you're not just running from the past. You're running towards it. They know about you." "What does that mean?" Mark's voice was frantic, trying to pull any thread of logical understanding from the fraying fabric of their lives. But the tension snapped like a tightrope under too much weight. The woman stepped closer, gravitas enveloping her words. "You were born in a world woven with power, a world that demands you answer to it. You were selected, Emily. Your family is not just connected. They're part of a lineage that goes back generations." The room shuddered. Emily's pulse quickened. She couldn't breathe. The memories of her childhood, the lies she told herself, everything she thought she had escaped piled on top of her like a crushing weight. "Selected," she whispered, disbelief consuming her. "For what?" "To take your place, to fulfill a destiny you have no idea about." The woman in black smiled, a horrifying grin filled with painful truths. "The question isn't whether you'll run, but when you'll face it." As the storm raged outside, a new flash of light exploded inside the mansion, bright and blinding. Emily didn't close her eyes, but stared into the brightness, heart thundering with anticipation and fear. Then everything spun. Muffled voices faded, and the world blurred around her. She felt the ground drop from beneath. An abyss pulling her down, into a darkness even deeper than she had known. When the light dimmed, she found herself standing in a vast, empty space. The figures were gone, the chaos replaced with eerie silence. Where was everyone? Panic surged again. The ties she had thought were strong now felt like threads ready to snap. She was alone. Emily. A voice called from the darkness, sharp and mocking. But this time, it was not Jerry or Mark. It was someone else, someone far more powerful. "Are you ready to embrace who you truly are?" The question danced in the air, echoing against the walls of her mind. Would she finally uncover the truth? Would she emerge from the shadows? Suddenly, she felt a pull, a whisper in her ear. "You can't run anymore. and something deep within her roared back, daring her to answer. The storm outside faded, merging with the echoes of her past. What lay beyond this moment? Would she become the woman destined to change everything? Or would she become yet another shadow, lost to a reality that consumed all? The silence swelled, leaving an aching question lingering in the heavy air. What would happen next? Emily stood alone in the silence, her heart pounding as shadows loomed. The voice in the darkness lingered, heavy and oppressive. She felt a pressure in her chest, squeezing tighter with each passing moment. "You can't run anymore." The echo sent chills down her spine. "What do you want from me?" she shouted into the void. Panic gnawed at her insides, forcing her to confront the doubts swirling in her mind. The promise of an answer hung tantalizingly close, yet so far away. A figure materialized from the shadows, a silhouette growing clearer, features allowing the light to reveal themselves. Emily squinted, heart racing. She approached slowly, confused by the familiarity. "No, it can't be." Her breath caught in her throat. Standing before her was a woman she hadn't seen in years. Her mother, Senna. "Emily," Senna said softly, stepping forward, arms outstretched. "I've missed you." But there was something off, a chill that swept through Emily. She recoiled, doubts locking its icy grip on her heart. "You, how can I trust you?" Each word tasted bitter on her tongue, laced with the weight of memories she wished to forget. "I thought you were gone." "Don't you see?" Senna pleaded, her voice trembling. "It's not safe. We've always been in danger. I tried to keep you away from this life." "What life?" Emily's hands trembled at her sides. "What do you mean?" But just as Senna opened her mouth to explain, there was a sudden, sharp noise, a crack. It was followed by the sound of glass shattering. Emily spun around. The newcomers, the police, were in a frenzy. "Stay back!" they shouted, voices cracking beneath tension. Then it happened. A flash flooded the room, brighter than before, illuminating the chaos around her for a split second. That's when she saw it. A blue figure, flashing through the throng of officers. Someone was running, hurtling toward her. "Get down!" someone yelled. The crowd parted, revealing a figure clad in a dark hoodie. The face darted into view, eyes frantic, breathless. It was Lily. "Emily!" she screamed, terror etching deep lines across her young face. "They're coming for you! Before she could finish, the hooded figure lunged forward. "No!" Emily cried, instinctively stepping in front of Lily as if to shield her from harm. But there was no warning. The figure leaped, and then, bang! A deafening shot rang out, echoing like a cruel joke through their lives. Emily's heart dropped, time ripping apart. The figure fell, crumpling to the ground. Silence thundered around them. "Lily!" Emily gasped, dread spilling into her veins. But when the dust settled, the figure lay not in Lily's form, but Jerry, her brother. The truth clawed at Emily's mind. He writhed on the floor, gasping for air, surprise mingling with pain in his eyes. I tried to save you, Emily!" Shock seized Emily as she dropped to her knees beside him. "No! Jerry, no!" Her hands shook, warmth suddenly turning cold. "But I was trying to warn you," he sputtered, blood pooling beneath him. The air thickened, a dreadful realization settling like lead. Every painful memory haunted her. Every lie, every whispered secret. "This is your fault," she stammered through tears, feeling betrayal shift like a knife. And then another figure stepped forward from the shadows, the woman in black. What a tangled web we weave, Emily. You had no idea, did you? She grinned, eyes dancing with sinister mirth. Jerry wasn't trying to save you. He was sent to ensure you never left. Emily felt the ground fall from beneath her, her world spinning like autumn leaves in a storm. "No! No!" she cried. "This can't be happening!" "Choose, Emily, choose," the woman taunted, as Jerry faltered, life fading from his gaze. As the weight of the revelation dropped like a stone, everything shifted. Relationships spun on a thread. Doubt shook life to its core. In the heart-wrenching chaos, Emily felt the walls around her closing in. How could she trust? Who was really family? As the storm raged on, a chilling question remained. Was anyone truly who they said they were? And as the shadows crept closer, Emily knew that storm had only just begun. Emily felt her heart race, the truth crashing over her like an unrelenting wave. Jerry lay on the ground, his last breaths shallow, blood pooling beneath him. She could hardly grasp the weight of the moment. Moments before, he was the monster. Now he was just her brother, broken and pleading. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, pain twisting her gut. "Why did you push me away?" "I thought I could protect you," he gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "But they're coming. You need to know. It's all tied to the money, our family, everything." The chaos around them erupted. The police yelled commands, trying to restore order, but all Emily could focus on was Jerry, her brother, collapsing under the weight of their shared history. "Emily!" Mark called out, stepping closer, hands raised. "We need to go, now." "No!" she snapped, feeling a surge of adrenaline. "We can't just leave him." The woman in black sneered. "He made his choices, just like you will have to make yours." Her tone was dismissive, as though Jerry's fate was already sealed. But Emily couldn't just walk away. She reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly. "Stay with me, Jerry, please!" "I'm sorry," he muttered, eyes glazing over. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She never thought the day would come when she'd have to say goodbye like this. Mark's voice cut through her despair. "We can't be here. There's no time." In that instant, everything felt too heavy. Her heart ached for the family she lost, for the brother she'd fought to forget. She flicked her gaze to the looming darkness, realized there was a storm brewing that had very little to do with the weather outside. "Emily," Mark said, pulling her away gently, "we have to face this together." The icy grip of fear subsided just slightly at his words, but the scars of betrayal still lay raw. Suddenly, the doors burst open again, but this time it was a team of paramedics rushing in. They assessed the scene swiftly, urgency filling the air as they worked. Jerry was lifted onto a gurney, and Emily felt her heart constrict. "Let me go with him," she cried, desperate. But Jerry whispered again, "No, you have to run." Her body shook as the gravity of his words settled. She could hear the distant roar of sirens closing in. Was this it? Would she have to let go of the brother who had haunted her dreams? "Emily, look at me," Mark urged. "We can't stay. We'll figure this out. I promise." She nodded slowly, her world crashing around her. Taking one last glance at Jerry, she whispered, "I'll find you. I promise." As they moved towards the exit, chaos erupted again. A commotion flared in the hallway, and another figure appeared, the woman in black, her gaze fixed on Emily. "You think you can run?" she mocked, stepping menacingly forward. "You're chosen, Emily. You can't hide from your heritage." "Get away from her!" Mark shouted, standing in front of Emily defensively. "Mark, let's go!" she urged, fear coursing through her veins. But the woman in black only smiled, darkness wrapping around her like a cloak. "We'll be watching." Emily stumbled outside, the storm still raging. She felt Mark's hand squeeze hers, grounding her. They climbed into a police car, and as it sped away, she realized they might have escaped the immediate danger. But the last few words from the woman echoed in her mind. "I'll find you." In the rearview mirror, she caught one last glimpse of the mansion, now a silhouette against the stormy sky. The feel of the world spinning away was daunting. Her heart ached, knowing this wasn't truly over. "We will get to the bottom of this," Mark said firmly beside her. "But first, let's find somewhere safe." As they drove into the dark night, she looked out at the rain-drenched streets. Question after question filled her mind. Who could she trust? What did the future hold? And most importantly, would she be strong enough to face it? But one thing pierced through the fog of uncertainty, that she was not alone this time. And as they turned down a dark road, she whispered, "I'll find my way. I'll face this storm." In that moment, Emily felt a thread of hope weaving through the chaos. It was a fragile thread, but it was there, just in reach. And now, dear friends, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. You don't want to miss the next chapter in this unfolding saga. Smash that like button now. It helps keep this community alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, theories, and reactions to this wild ride. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see how this story ends. Don't wait another second. Your support makes all the difference.